Tomb of Annihilation recap. The story began in Port Nyanzaru, where you were summoned by a mildly famous, but since retired adventurer, Sindra Silvam. She told you of a curse that was plaguing the land. One that prevented resurrection magic of any kind and is slowly killing anyone who has been granted that miracle in the past, herself included, and pleaded you solve this plague before it claims her life. You found yourselves in the home of one of the 7 merchant princes who govern and control the city, Wakanga Otamu. Gaining insights into the jungle travel ahead and an old wizard's journal detailing some past travels, you then acquired guide as Arcus Tom Fang and priest of Tom Undrul Silvertusk, impressing both when you fought and won in the fighting pits, and raced and won in the weekly dinosaur races. Next you set out to the jungle some days later, running into a cunning Ibla that had seen her gain, Goryuda's master. After trading shiny objects, you were told he was heading to the 1,800 feet high former village of Mbala. A few days later you had a scuffle with a goblin village that hurled itself through the air, but not until you converted it Queen Grab Stab to Queen Grab Hug and scored an amulet that soon after have you control of a nearby shield guardian that was being worshipped like a god by Grung, Vegapygmy, and goblin tribes in the area. With a trail of dead zombies and dinosaurs left behind, you then reached your first destination of Camp Vengeance, the Order of the Gauntlet Run stronghold that stunk of excrement and had an fairly useless leader, Niles Breakbone. Delivering your priest Undril and her dispatches from the Order of the Gauntlet higher-ups. With the help of Niles' more useful lieutenants, you were able to convince the camp to relocate to a safer location downstream closer to Port Nyanzaru, while also checking out the previous camp, Camp Righteous, where you ran into a familiar face from Leo's past, Grant, a husband of a former client. You also made your way through a trapped Temple of Man and Croc, viewing some intricate historic wall sculptures showing you anti-factions facing off against Chultans and Co-Atlas, with a serpent the size of a continent floating above all. Your next destination was the Temple of Olongo, where you solved the riddles and were able to speak to the great sage Sajimbasa. Thousands of years old, she was able to dump lore and history on the party. She told you of Razan Siddhabari of the ancient city of Mesro, who is ageless and has been alive for well over a century. His powers to call on and create any number of undead and mark them with the upside-down blue triangle, and how he used these undead to try to commit a genocide on the older Sho tribe in Chult. She also told you that he is still in Chult and is now aligned with the Yuan Ti near the city Omu in their effort to return an ancient being called Dender the Night Serpent to consume the world. More troubling than Razansi, the oracle also told you of a great and powerful Lichasarak that has come to visit Chult every few years, always coming back to the city of Omu ever since he devastated and decimated the city over a century ago. However, his last visit was different. The oracle could feel a Sirarak brought to foul and powerful magic to Omu, and he deposited it beneath the city, where it remains and grows in power day by day. After the news of Omu, the oracle requested you put a final on to Razansinda's flaming sword and bestowed each of you a charm to assist in the task. The oracle also spoke to Hagain and told the party of his new heading, Omu, where he believed he could make headway on the death curse. You then found yourselves at the city of Mbala, which you were made to believe was deserted and cursed. However, after passing through an illusion meant to keep people away, you found a sprawling and successful settlement of homes and communities built in the trees with rope bridges tying the whole settlement together. You spoke with the settlement elders and were requested to keep the settlement a secret. Then hopped on the back of some pterodactyl and helped the settlement rid a sacred grove of a deadly yellow musk creeper infestation, thus granting you the permission of some air travel in the future. At the request of Azaka, you found yourselves flown to the dilapidated spire of Firefinger to retrieve a family heirloom of hers and maybe avenge her son who was killed by the terror folk there a few years ago. With the help of a massive rock flying at the tower at breakneck speed, you managed to clear the place of terror folk. Oh, and with lots of help from Lenners too. Heirloom mask acquired and giving to Azaka. You met and freed a prisoner Nefer who invited you to Kersable anytime. Stop the spire, the rocks say a familiar sight, a frost giant ship named the Speed. So the party promptly found giant tracks and trekked toward the coast following the tracks. There was a lively encounter with a tabaxi named Ringing Bells. It was quickly figured out that she was a hag and a brief scuffle broke out, ending in a warning to stay away from Omu and Lenner's wig being removed, causing a revelation to his true identity. Since that day some members have been haunted in their dreams by the horrible haggish creature. You did then make it to the frost giant ship and fought a number of frost giants. Gleaming, they are here in the jungles of Chult looking for a man named Artus Simba and a ring he possesses. After defeating the giants, you managed to board the ship, free a slave, set the ship on fire and narrowly escape into the jungle while hiding as the reinforcement lumbered by none the wiser. Purview, the freed Goliath slave, was an old acquaintance of the Rock and informed him that his father Grogol had been loaned to the Zentarum, which you later found out from Undril was to help them find Artus, as he was rumored to be seen in Port Nyanzaru. Next you took up Nefer on his offer and hoofed it to the ruins of Mesro and hopped a pterodactyl ride to Kersable, the peaceful monastery of Arakocra peoples, where you met their leader Ashara, or teacher as they call her, as well as the human royal descendants of Omu. You put on a wonderful play for the locals that was enjoyed by all and set off to Nangalore, the Garden of Lost Dreams, to get to Black Orchid so you may return and receive a ritual, the Dance of the Seven Winds, to grant you flight for no longer than a 10-day. In Nangalore you were dazed by hallucinogenic plants, threatened by Blend, faced off against the once queen of Omu, now Magica, and the spirit of her lover, but were able to make it out of the beautiful but deadly garden with the Black Orchid in hand and set off back toward the monastery of Kersable. Tomb of Annihilation recap: the story began in Port Nyanzaru, where you were summoned by mildly